Sam Richardson Jr. has been the Chief Deputy of Dorchester County Sheriff's Office for the past 16 years and has many more years of experience in law enforcement. Now he wants to become the next Dorchester County Sheriff. I speak exclusively with Chief Deputy Richardson for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Sam Richardson Jr., welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Quintin. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you greatly. Needless to say, you are Chief Deputy for Dorchester County Sheriff and have been with the Sheriff's Office for many years. But now you want to become Dorchester County Sheriff. So tell me, Chief Deputy, why Dorchester County Sheriff? Why now?
Well, I've been preparing my entire career for this opportunity to be the Sheriff of Dorchester County. Started as a Deputy Sheriff in the early 90s in 1992 for then Sheriff J.C. Woodbury, and worked for 4 sheriffs along the way. So learned a lot of things about issues that are I guess issues specific to Dorchester County as opposed to any place else. And played football for Coach McKissick. Just been a part of this community. Got a football scholarship and all. So I said, hey, I want to come back, and if I want to become a police officer, I'd like to do it where I was born and raised at, where I have family and friends, and where I feel I can make a difference. And as sheriff, I feel that I can increase the quality of life for my citizens. And I think, as a humble servant, I think that with my background, I think I'm the guy to do that.
A couple of things for you, Chief. So let me ask you this then. What is the current quality of life in Dorchester County?
Well, let's look at it from this standpoint. In terms of violent crime, if you look at the Uniform Crime Reports from 2022, 2023 stats aren't out yet, but we're in the top 4 in terms of the safest county in the state right now. And of course, and if you look at the populations per capita of the counties that are ahead of us, they don't have the population that we have. So if you look at it for the amount of people that we have, we're on a really good track in terms of keeping our citizens safe, from violent crime. And my job is to make us the safest county in the state.
And where was that decrease, obviously, in crime from a couple of years ago to right now?
Yes, sir. And we've been on a steady downtrend in our statistical progress. So I'm really pleased with that. I think that it's due to just persistence on our part and good community relationships also. I think that as our relationships in terms of community outreach and community relationships, as they've gotten better, it's been a reflection with a downward trend in crime.
Now, what exactly is the relationship with the community? And when you talk to the community, Chief, what exactly do they have concerns about?
Well, I think that the thing, if you look at the feedback I've received, is I'd say car break-ins, and believe it or not, one of the big issues we have with car break-ins is just people leaving doors unlocked. And then we've got a group of young people that are going around all night or during the night and trying these doors, and whatever it's a crime of opportunity for the most part. And they'll take whatever belongings are in the cars. The most perplexing thing about it is a lot of times it's guns. People leave guns in unlocked cars. So that's a challenge for us. So I want to get that out to our citizens. If they can, that's a big thing. If they can please secure those firearms, for us.
Now, Chief, have you seen an increase or uptick in the people leaving guns in their cars when these break-ins are actually occurring?
No, I think we've not. I think we've got the message out. So I think it's a downward trend, but we still have the issue though, unfortunately. But it's a downward trend. I don't think it's an increase. I think we've been able to get the word out, and I think we've got good community cooperation from that.
And before this, obviously, this decrease in the guns and obviously the break-ins, where exactly in Dorchester County did you all see that occurring?
In a lot of subdivisions, just they when you have subdivisions where you have a lot of people living in one subdivision or another, and that's where they strike, and they don't have one. They don't look at one subdivision over another. Matter of fact, they'll hit one and leave it alone for a while and try some others. Wow. And it's not always in the jurisdictional confines of Dorchester County. And that's the good thing about how we police now. Right. We police with intelligence-led policing and community policing, so we get that information that allows us to forecast what's going on, and to some degree be able to predict what they're doing and how they're doing it because of the information that we're sharing with other agencies too.
What has been the most effective result for you, community policing or intelligent policing?
I think it's I think you have to blend it. I don't think that there's one over the other. I think that the intelligence-led policing, that's the information that you find out. It may be something that you get from the community that you get more information on through intelligence-led policing, because that's the information that you may not get from the community, but you'd be able to corroborated, I guess that's the word I want to use, through our intelligence, our analytics and intelligence gathering. So, and sometimes that intelligence comes from the citizens, from informants.
So, Chief, with those analytics, what trends do you see as far as crimes, and where do you want to stop that as far as a crime in Dorchester County?
I'd say if I had to really focus, let me tell you a couple of things that are driving the train. See, mental health. Mental health has changed from the time I started. I've been policing 32 years. Mental health, when I started, that dynamic is not looked upon the same way as it is now. We have an embedded clinician, a mental health clinician, inside of our office right now. There was no such talk when I started. Yeah. So you have that. You have the homeless encampments. That's to some degree, there are many pieces in terms of why people are homeless. Economic reasons, substance abuse, mental health, and sometimes even if somebody's displaced because of domestic violence. Sometimes somebody's isolated and they don't know, have no place to go. Usually, we try to do our best to try to get somebody like that in a shelter. But that's a concern for us right now. And then you got crimes where people want to defraud the elderly right now. That's something, scams with the elderly. So those are things right now that are and our opioid epidemic that I talked about, in terms of fentanyl and some of the other things that we're having to deal with. So sometimes there are tie-ins with all those things too. Sometimes mental health, the drug abuse situation, and the homeless situation. Sometimes you have actual direct tie-ins.
Wow. Where exactly do you see these homeless camps popping up in Dorchester County?
They're in different spots. Let me tell you, I'd rather not say specifically for their safety, and we track them. We track them for their safety, and just to make sure that there are no issues there, both from other citizens and for them. And what we want, why we keep up with them that way, is we also for humanitarian reasons, we try to provide personal hygiene things for them. If we could, sometimes we get charity donations where people donate personal hygiene items for them, and we put on different events to make sure that we have their trust, and that we're all about just trying to make a difference with everybody, and that includes trying to make sure that we do the best we can for them. And we've had some success stories. We've had a couple of situations where we put people back on the right track, and they're back in normal society now. So, I wish we could do it for everybody in those situations, but those issues are really complicated. And I could go on and on about, the different reasons why you have somebody in those situations. And by God's grace, there go I, is what we all should say, right?
Yes, sir. And going back, obviously, to those the homelessness in Dorchester County, where do you, how many of these people are actually homeless because of opioid issues, and how many of them are actually homeless because of mental health issues?
Oh man, I'd say uh, in different encampments, I think you have a variety of different issues. Uh, I think that sometimes there's a combination. Sometimes you have mental health issues along with some substance abuse issues. So um, I'd say that if you had to get down into the weeds, I'd say that you've had a combination thereof. I think you have um, mental health issues, and I'd say real close would be the substance abuse problems too, whether it be alcohol or the opioid situation that we have. And then unfortunately, then you just have people that um, just haven't had they had financial issues and they just haven't had a good break in that regard, and so I'll tell you, and I cannot leave this out.
Yes, sir.
My success as a lawman, first of all, um, comes from my relationship with God. Uh, um, God has been in my career. Uh, God has been just steadfast and unmovable for me in terms of who I want to be, who I am, and God. My core values are God, family, and everything else. And man, whenever things get tough, I can lean on God to know that the sun will rise again, and everything's going to be all right.
Yes, sir. The core values. How do you apply that to obviously the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office?
Well, I think that everything's derived from my belief in God, and I think that if you look at our laws, not being able to hurt somebody, not being able to mistreat somebody, to me, my religious belief is the structure that that's real similar to what society deems as appropriate in life. It just gives you structure. It gave me structure here. I'm also retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Army Reserve, and as a commander, it also provided me with structure too, and good a good foundation for decision making, where you don't make decisions out of haste, out of anger. That you really try to make sure you're fair.
What is the biggest difference about that structure with inside the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office from the early '90s to now?
Well, first of all, we've had to grow as an agency because the population in Dorchester County is probably tripled since that time, so we're a fast-growing county, as you know. The challenge is always, the difference is, we've had to build a lot more schools. We got a lot more neighborhoods, and so in terms of the mechanism to make sure that we provide adequate law enforcement to everybody within that construct, we have to make sure that we are deliberate with information that we receive from our citizens. But that's where the relationships come in and really help us. I actually want to put together an advisory council as sheriff, and get citizens from all over the county. And what I want to do as a sheriff, I want to be humble enough for citizens in that advisory council, or any citizen for that matter, but that they tell me, Sheriff, in my area, you guys are a little heavy-handed, or we don't see enough deputies here, or we have this issue that I think you need to pay attention to, but from a citizen standpoint, not hearing it from our deputies. Where I'm out in the community, where I'm meeting people, and whether that be visiting schools, whether that visiting businesses during the day, and just making sure I'm in touch with what's going on with our citizens. That's important. That's important to be a man about the people, around the people. And I think that if you do that and you grow that relationship, you're just that much more of an effective leader, and you'll have an effective sheriff's office as a result.
I've interviewed, obviously, North Charleston Police Chief Greg Gomes, who's retiring at the end of June, I believe. And when
Good friend of mine.
Okay, cool. Yes, indeed. Great guy. And obviously, North Charleston is growing, in that particular area. And where I live, it's growing, that area is growing towards Dorchester County as well. He talked
That's
about Watson Hill. It's one of the areas that they want to actually have more resources in. Where exactly in Dorchester County is the population growing, and where do you want to have more deputies and resources there?
So we've got different areas. We've got planned growth, along that corridor that Greg was talking about. With that's in North Charleston, but it affects us. Watson Hill.
Mm.
We got something, Summers Corner. It's a huge subdivision.
Yes.
We've got some new growth planned in St. George, Ridgeville. So we've got growth planned in different areas all over the county.
Wow.
What I'm really pleased with is that we have, along with council, and that's why I feel that I'm the best candidate for the job, because I understand the strategic vision for the county and a lot of these neighborhoods, and what footprint we need to have as a sheriff's office to make sure that we're responsible and responsive to the growth, and also that council recognizes that there's an infrastructure need also with that growth, in a responsible infrastructure, for that responsible growth. The first time that they put the first piece of equipment down when they clear out land, that's where our job starts. We're responsible for that equipment. We're responsible for patrol in that area. So what we've been pressed upon council to do is, when you have those rooftops, look at the strategic vision in terms of cause and effect for us. Okay, how does that affect our ability to patrol neighborhoods if you're giving us that much more area to patrol? So what they come to the table with is say, per 1,000 people, how many deputies do you need to serve them, and what equipment satisfies those needs too. So that's what we've been able to come to the table, and with a strategic plan for that. So I'm really looking forward to the future in terms of what that strategic plan will yield for the county, and what it would do for our office.
And just to be clear, well, as transparency, I'm going to be interviewing your opponent, Mike Turner, on June 6th, I believe, for Quintin's Close-Ups. And I see all of your signs on my running route every weekend. So it was not not your sign. I see his sign. So yeah. But yes, sir.
So in talking about my opponent, he talks about his philosophy is community-led policing. What I say to that is, he's been out of conventional law enforcement for the past 16 years. And when you say conventional law enforcement, meaning a regular sheriff's office, so police department like Somerville, right, like Dorchester County, that's a conventional police department. When you're at nothing against the SO, but when you're at that school, it's not the same thing. He doesn't have the employees that we have. Their daily activity is not going to be the same as what we're seeing. So,
and I hope to get I'll give him a chance to respond to that in June. But let me ask you this: where else do you want to plan? Well, where else do you want your sheriff's office to plan for that planned growth in Dorchester County?
As far as we have to plan for that planned growth. Of course, it's going to affect us in St. George.
Oh yes.
It's going to affect us in Ridgeville with the planned growth out there. So that's an area where historically you didn't have to have the footprint of having a whole bunch of deputies there, because there just wasn't a population there to support. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a different story with those additional rooftops. So what council wants to do for us is in the strategic plan that I talked about is have, when they build in the future, when they build fire stations, to have not substations, but at least office areas where that's not going to be just a fire department, but a public safety building where they've got some working space in there for our sheriff's deputies. So that's the plan going forward with council as we've discussed, is to incorporate those things in there, because growth isn't going to stop, and we're aware of that. We just have to be responsible with it and plan accordingly.
And don't forget about Liz Olson's Jetberg and all those other.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
God bless her soul.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's throughout the county. It's throughout the county. So we've got our challenges there, and no disrespect to my opponent. I just feel that I'm the better man for the job because I understand the current issues. Day one, I can come in the office and start off the ground, hit the ground running because, when the sheriff's not around, I have to make those decisions. I've been the sheriff through a lot of different events, a lot of through storms. And when I say been the sheriff, I've been in the sheriff's role where I've had to make those decisions. I've had to sit down with council and make critical and crucial decisions. So I'm ready to hit the ground running. And I've not just learned from Sheriff Knight, who's the current sheriff. I've been his chief deputy for the past 15 and a half years. But I've learned from Sheriff Woodbury, Sheriff Sutherland, and Sheriff Nash.
Oh yes.
So so I've learned from all those different men, and all of them have great leadership qualities. I've learned some things not to do that I don't think I need to do, and then some things some ideas that I like. So, and then I've got some sheriffs in the county area, in the Tri-County area that I talk to too. I'm good friends with Sheriff Lewis from Berkeley County, and we talk quite a bit. Sheriff Ravenel in Orangeburg County.
Sure.
So I've worked a lot with Sheriff Graciano.
Sure.
And one of her opponents, Carl Ritchie, we worked together when he was chief of Mount Pleasant. So you got a relationship with once you do this for a while, and if you're a decent person, usually you try to develop those relationships. And like I said, with Greg, got a great relationship with him.
Sure.
And looking forward to the new chief down there. But that's a lot of your strength comes from relationships with other departments, relationships, built through your community.
Yes, sir. And I want to get back to that in just a second. But you talked about obviously all of this growth in the sheriff's office, Chief. How much have you reduced response times by as far as calls?
Well, now that's tough, and I want you to think about something. There are a lot of things that have a lot of effect on response times. You can have people in certain zones, like you can have a map of the county where you can put people in certain sectors or zones. So when they get a call, the response time isn't that long. The problem you have with all that, and it goes back to what I said, I can do that repeatedly, but if I'm not responsible with my infrastructure, with the roads that it takes to make it easier for them and timely for them to get there, that's going to affect my response time, no matter what I do. But having those confined areas, and that's what I want to do in terms of changing our construct. That's my plan. That's different from what we currently do. Because this is Sheriff Knight's construct right now. This is not my construct. Right. And I learned that from the military. When you take command, then you can certainly make some changes. When you're the XO or the number 2 man, you follow that guy's vision. So I do. There's some things I want to do, that are different than Sheriff Knight, and I think that a lot of people are excited because they've heard some of the things, and I want to do with the construct, right. And how patrols run and different techniques. And like I said, having people in those sectors where number one, you want to keep the same officers in those sectors because they get to know the community and they become effective, right? They know Miss Smith generally does something and she's home, she drives a yellow car. Well, there's a different car in her yard today. So there's something going on with Miss Smith. Maybe we need to take a closer look at Miss Smith's house, because I worked that area, I know that. But then you get that call that happens in the neighborhood next to Miss Smith's, where your response time isn't going to be as bad as it would be if you don't have those sectors designed that way. But like I said, what helps us, and that's why having common ground with county government helps, because the infrastructure, the roads affect that.
Yes, sir. And I want to ask you this. So how many deputies do you want to increase by in 2026?
Well, if I could get council to give us probably about I'd say right off, if we could get about maybe 15, 20 more slots right now, I think that would put us in a good situation in terms of being able to handle some of the projected growth right now. So we've asked about 8. The challenge that you have in conventional law enforcement is that at times people don't always view law enforcement as the best profession to get in right now. Greg's got his challenge right now, just filling his slots at North Charleston. But we're in good shape as far as that goes. I think, right now as it stands, I think we're somewhere in between 5, 6 slots open, which is good for our size.
Okay.
But Greg's had as many as 50 open before. Charleston County 25. Berkeley, same thing, 8 to 10. So they with a normal attrition, they stay around that area. What my opponent says is he's going to come in and there won't be any vacancies, and that's unrealistic. There's no agency in the real conventional agency in the Tri-County area that has 0 vacancies. So that's a nice thing to promise people. It's unrealistic. And if you look at this, when you talk to him, if you go get the data from other agencies in terms of vacancies, you'll see that that's a challenge.
Wow, yes, sir. And I'll talk to him more about that in depth too. But how many full-time employees are actually employed by your agency?
We have 316 full-time employees.
And how many of those are full-time sworn deputies and, say, detention deputies?
So of that, we probably got about 108 slots of it that are detention officers. We call ours detention officers, but Charleston County, they call them. It's the same thing. Same thing.
Now,
yes.
What is the current retention rate for qualified and trained personnel within the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office?
I'd say we're pretty good in terms of what we do at the Sheriff's Office. I think our struggle is detention. That's where we struggle. I think that we have anywhere from 15 openings to sometimes 20 openings in the jail, and when you only have 108 employees, that's significant.
Wow.
When you look at that percentage.
And Chief, how many people from other counties that you have to bring in to help fill the slot in the detention center?
We've done that. We've hired quite a few from the Tri-County area, from Charleston County, when they've left Berkeley County,
right,
and sometimes even Orangeburg County, and sometimes we get some that move here out of state that have corrections experience. So,
right.
We try to have a blend with different types. The challenge is, you still have the responsibility to hire the right people, with the background checks and everything. So,
yes,
it's not just plugging in bodies. You have to still put the right people in place because, the people that are in a jail, they're accused of something,
right,
but they're our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, So even though they're accused of a crime, they still have to be treated and cared for appropriately.
And how do you improve your career ladder, if you will, that you can actually compete with surrounding agencies and the private industry, Chief?
Well, that's something, we're in the arms race, if you want to call it that, when it comes to pay. So you get Boeing here, and just to give an example, when you look at detention, when you look at, and I want you to put yourself, just think about this for a minute. You've got an opportunity for the same pay, or even if we make a little bit more, if we raise our pay level a little bit more. But then you got to, in detention, you got to deal with that inmate. So he's yours from the time that the sheriff's deputies or the highway patrol or Summerville PD or North Charleston, the North Charleston part that's in Dorchester County. If they arrest somebody in Dorchester County, they come to our facility. So when they come into our facility, our guys have to deal with that individual until they go to trial. We've had inmates throw feces at our detention officers. We've had them throw urine. I mean, so these officers have to deal with a lot. They get threatened. It's a lot so even the guys on the street aren't getting aren't exposed to that on a daily basis. That's a huge, not just in terms of conflict they have to deal with, but it's the psychological piece on that. And so that's a challenge. And that's something that, and I go back to my opponent, he talks about this stuff. He has no experience dealing with that jail. And what I'm telling you, did you realize that before I said it? What I'm saying is, did you realize that? Yeah. So when you're exposed to that, that's tough. I brought employees in and we try to hold, whatever inmate does stuff like that, we hold them accountable, but it still doesn't change the fact that your officer was exposed to that. So it's a huge responsibility. And so I'm an advocate of making sure that we pay our detention officers a salary that's consistent with whatever we pay our sheriff's deputies, and it's not quite there yet. That they make a little less than our sheriff's deputies. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I want to talk with council about in the future to try to make sure that there's some equality there, because they're exposed to quite a bit.
Oh yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, and Chief, let me ask you this then. I'm probably going ahead of myself, but what are you and your staff looking at right now as far as comparisons to other counties and other states?
Well, when you look at that, you look at a bunch of different things. You look at policies and procedures. You look at, are there things out there that we could do to make ourselves better? Are there easier ways, in terms of procedural things to make our jobs easier, but also be safe? When we designed our facility, we had to have that in mind, where we didn't want it labor intensive, when we designed that detention facility. So when we look at, and we got that construct from just visiting other agencies, trying to make sure that when in that design that we were not only trying to make it less labor intensive, but also that it was a safe environment for our detention officers.
And what would be your approach to establishing a cost-effective, fair, and transparent hiring to retiring personnel process?
Well, I think what you do is you have to have a rigorous background process, and then in your recruiting piece, I think you have to have a full-time recruiter, and that sells your agency, but also has some responsibility and direction to recruit the best people, and for that type of, because everybody's not qualified to work in detention. Everybody's not qualified to work as a sheriff's deputy.
Wow. And that brings me to my next question as far as that recruiting. How would you use your financial and human resources fairly, effectively, and efficiently?
To recruit is what you're asking?
Yes, sir.
I think right now, you try to go through all, you go to all the universities in the area. We love to recruit people from the Citadel, from the College of Charleston, from South Carolina State, sure. Claflin,
sure.
From all these great universities, and show them that we're an attractive commodity. And that we're competitive, and that's the key thing. Having a relationship with council has kept us competitive, but that's the arms race I'm telling you about. That we have to make sure that we're diligent with that, because it only takes one county to pass some new pay raises, and then they're ahead of you in the arms race, and you may lose some people just because of that $10,000 pay raise. That's the difference. So so you have to be aware of that. You have to remain competitive. So but you also you tell people that you're a cutting edge agency, that you want to have the best technology,
Sure.
that you want to have the best working environment for them, and that you care about them, that you do the best you can to increase your morale. So, and that you're open and as a leader, open and approachable to make sure that you've done the best you can to let your officers know you care about them. And I learned that in the military also.
So what exactly is the morale currently inside your sheriff's office?
I think we've got good morale. I think that I think that the challenge is always there to make sure that they're paid appropriately and that they're treated fair. You have to have a fair promotion process. You have to have a transparent promotion process. You have to have when you're disciplined, individuals, you have to be fair, and they have to understand that that's a fair process too. So all of your if they understand that you're a fair agency, you're a fair leader, and that you demand transparency in that process too. That what happens to this individual, if somebody else does the same thing, they're exposed to the same type of discipline.
And how many disciplines have you had to make over the past couple of years?
For different reasons. I will tell you this though. In the age of body camera, when we receive complaints on individuals, believe it or not, I'd say 85% of our complaints are unfounded. Based on the body camera, because usually we can play the tape and look at it and determine that either it's a misunderstanding. It's not that the person had a false claim. It's just that their understanding was this officer shouldn't have said this or did this. And then when we bring them in and we talk to them about what our procedure is in that area, and then this is what the officer did and why. The whole thing is explaining to people, when you talk about transparency, is the why. Just be upfront with them, and usually people understand about that. So sometimes what starts out as a complaint ends up being an unfounded issue when you bring a citizen in, and then they leave with a profound respect for our agency, because now they understand the why. Now, they thought that
yes, sir.
It could be something where a person talked to somebody about something in their vehicle, and then when I told them what the officers have and what they're at risk for, then they certainly understand.
Yes, sir. And so what's the biggest difference? How many complaints you've actually had versus unfounded cases?
If you're looking at, I can't give you a number specific, but I can say that generally it's about 85% of the complaints that come in are unfounded.
Wow.
And then the ones that are, we deal with those specifically, so that hopefully others learn from those mistakes.
Now, going back obviously to the pay issue, how many deputies have you actually lost in the past 2 years because of this issue?
Well, I'd say I can't give you specifics on that. I'd say if we lost, give you a figure. If we lost 10 deputies, I'd say we lost 5 of them for pay.
Wow. Chief Deputy Sam Richardson Jr. of the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office, thank you for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Quintin, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.